I'm Daniel, 27 years old at the time this all started. Back then, I wasn't much to look at financially. I was still in my final training phase, moving between internships, earning just enough to survive. I knew where I was going, but I wasn't there yet. She was. Clara, 29, already had a solid career in finance. Good salary, her own apartment, a car, investments. She was stable in every way I wasn't. When we started dating, the difference was obvious. She paid for most of our outings, not in a loud way, not in a disrespectful way, but in a way that reminded you. If we went to a nice restaurant, she'd casually pick up the bill. If we travelled, she handled the bookings. At first, I appreciated it. I told myself it was temporary. I was building my future. But sometimes, in small moments, she would say things that stayed with me. "You're lucky I'm patient," she once joked, smiling. I laughed it off, because I loved her. And because I believed one day I'd catch up. 2 years into the relationship, I proposed. Not with something extravagant, just something honest, something I could afford. She said yes. But a week later, she brought something up that changed everything. We were sitting in her living room when she said it. "I think we should sign a prenup before we get married." Just like that. No hesitation. I remember going quiet for a few seconds. Not because I didn't understand what a prenup was, but because I didn't expect it from her. She saw my reaction and immediately started explaining. "It's not personal," she said. "It's just smart. I've worked hard for what I have. My apartment, my savings, everything. I need to protect that." I nodded slowly. She continued. "And even in marriage, I think we should keep things separate. What's mine stays mine. What's yours stays yours." That part hit harder than the prenup itself. Marriage, but separate? I tried to keep my voice calm. "So no shared assets at all?" She shook her head. "We can share expenses, but ownership stays individual. It avoids problems later." Problems. That word sat there between us. I asked her one question. "If I had more than you right now, would you still ask for this?" She didn't answer immediately. Then she said, "That's not the situation, Daniel," and that told me everything. I won't lie. I hesitated. Not because I wanted her money, but because of what it meant. It felt like she was preparing for the end before we even started. I spoke to a friend of mine who had some legal background. He didn't tell me not to sign it. He just told me one thing. Understand what you're signing, because one day it might matter more than you think. I should have listened deeper to that. But at that time I was still thinking like someone in love, not like someone protecting himself. Clara brought in her lawyer. Everything was already prepared, clean, detailed, strict. Anything she owned before marriage stayed hers. Anything I owned stayed mine. Anything we acquired individually during the marriage also stayed separate. No claims, no sharing, no matter what. I read it, every line, and I remember feeling something I didn't want to admit. Not fear, but distance. Like I was entering a partnership, not a marriage. She noticed my silence and softened her tone. "This is just security," she said. "It doesn't change how I feel about you." Maybe. Or maybe it showed exactly how she felt. In the end, I signed it. Not because I fully agreed, but because I didn't want to lose her over something that, at the time, felt like it didn't even affect me. I had nothing. So what was I protecting? We got married a few months later. Simple ceremony, family present, everything looked perfect from the outside. And for a while, it was peaceful. I continued my training, finished my final phase, and pushed harder than ever. Long nights, no distractions, focused. Because in my mind I had something to prove. Not to her, to myself. And eventually, everything changed. Because the moment I got my first real offer, a high-paying position, better than anything I had imagined, that's when I saw something in Clara shift. At first it was subtle, just small questions. How much are they offering you? What are your bonuses like? What kind of growth is expected? Normal questions, but asked differently, carefully, measured. And then one night she said something that brought everything back. "You know, I've been thinking about the prenup." That was the moment I realized the same agreement she once insisted on was about to become a problem for her.
Like our stories? Subscribe and share to follow for more.
The first time she brought it up, she didn't sound serious. We were having dinner at home, nothing special, just a normal evening. She stirred her food slowly, then said it like it was just another thought passing through her mind. "You know, I think the prenup doesn't really reflect who we are anymore." I looked at her calm. "What do you mean?" She smiled lightly. "I mean, we're married now. Things have changed. We've grown. You've grown." There it was. I didn't respond immediately. I just let her continue. "I feel like keeping everything separate. It creates distance," she said. "Marriage should be unity, Daniel, not division. Unity." That word again. The same woman who insisted on separation was now talking about unity. I asked her one simple question. "So you want to cancel it?" She nodded. "Eventually, yes. Or at least revise it. Make it more balanced." Balanced. I leaned back in my chair and looked at her carefully. "And when you asked for it," I said, "was that balanced?" Her expression changed slightly. "That was different." "Why?" she sighed. "Because at the time I had more to protect." There it was again. Not love, not trust, protection. I nodded slowly. And now? I asked. She didn't hesitate this time. Now we both have something to protect. I held her gaze. No, I said calmly. Now I do. The silence that followed was heavy. She didn't like that answer. I could see it immediately. Her tone shifted, just slightly. Why are you making it sound like I'm trying to take something from you? I didn't say that, I replied. But that's how you're acting. I shook my head. I'm just not changing something you insisted on. She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. So you're holding it against me now? I'm respecting what you wanted, I said. That conversation ended there. But it didn't end, because after that night, it became a pattern. She didn't push directly again, at least not at first. Instead, she changed her approach. It started with emotions. You've changed, she said a few days later. I was sitting on the couch going through some work emails when she said it. I looked up. How? You're more guarded, she replied. Less open. I almost smiled. Because I won't cancel the prenup? She didn't answer directly. I just feel like you don't trust me anymore. That was the strategy. Make it about trust. Make it about feelings. I stayed calm. You didn't trust me enough to marry me without it, I said. So let's not pretend this is new. She didn't like that. At all. Her face hardened. That's unfair. No, I said quietly. It's consistent. After that, things started to change between us. The warmth faded. The small gestures stopped. Conversations became shorter, colder, and then she escalated. She brought her family into it. The first time was during a weekend dinner at her parents' house. Everything was normal at first. Food, small talk, laughter. Then her mother said it casually. You know, Clara told us about that agreement you two signed. I didn't even look at Clara. I just kept eating. Her father joined in. It's not very healthy for a marriage, he said. These kinds of things create distance. I put my fork down slowly. Interesting, I said calmly. It wasn't unhealthy when your daughter asked for it. Silence. Clara shifted in her seat. That was before, her mother said quickly. Things change. Yes, I replied. They do. Her father leaned forward slightly. You're doing well now, Daniel. You should think long-term. Building together. Building together. I almost laughed. I am thinking long-term, I said. That's why I'm keeping it. That ended the dinner. Not loudly, but permanently. From that point on, it wasn't just Clara anymore. It was her family. Calls started coming in, advice, pressure. Subtle at first, then more direct. You don't want to create resentment in your marriage. A real man builds with his wife. Money shouldn't divide you. All of it sounded good. All of it ignored one simple truth. They were fine with division when it protected her. Now it didn't, so now it was a problem. Then came something I didn't expect. My own family. My older sister called me one evening. I heard about the situation, she said. I sighed. Of course you did. Daniel, maybe you should reconsider, she added. If it's causing problems in your marriage. I cut her off. Was it a problem when I signed it? She went quiet. That's different, she said after a moment. No, I replied. It's exactly the same. That's when I realized something important. This was no longer about fairness. It was about advantage. And Clara had lost hers. That's why everything around me started feeling coordinated. The pressure, the conversations, the timing. It didn't feel emotional anymore. It felt planned. And one night, without even trying to, I found something that confirmed it. Clara had left her laptop open. I wasn't snooping. I was just passing by. But a message caught my eye. My name. I stopped, and I read. It was a conversation between her and one of her friends. She had written, "He won't agree. I tried the emotional angle. Now I'm bringing in family. If that doesn't work, I'll find another way. The prenup has to go." I didn't move. I read that line again, slowly, carefully. Not anger, not shock, just clarity. Everything made sense now. This wasn't about love. This wasn't about unity. This was strategy. And I was the target. I closed the laptop gently, walked away. And that night, I stopped seeing my wife the same way. Because once you realize someone is not talking to you, but working on you, there's no going back. And from that moment, I knew exactly how this was going to end.
Like our stories? Subscribe and share to follow for more.
After I read that message, something in me settled. Not anger, not even disappointment, just certainty. From that night, I stopped arguing. I stopped explaining. I stopped trying to fix anything. I watched. Clara noticed the change immediately. "You've been quiet lately," she said a few days later. "I'm just focused on work," I replied. She studied my face like she was trying to read something I wasn't showing anymore, because I wasn't playing the same game. She tried again, different approach this time. Soft voice, calm tone. "Daniel, I don't want us to grow apart over something like this." I looked at her. "We're not growing apart because of the prenup," I said. "We're growing apart because you can't accept it anymore." That hit her, harder than I expected. She didn't argue. She just stood there, staring at me. And for the first time, I think she realized something. I wasn't going to bend, so she changed tactics again. But this time, she went too far. One evening, she brought it up in front of both our families. A full gathering. Her parents, mine, a few relatives. Everything looked normal at first. Then she stood up. "I think we need to address something important in our marriage," she said. I didn't even react. I already knew where it was going. She turned to everyone. Daniel refuses to remove a prenup that is damaging our relationship. There it was, out in the open, framed perfectly, like I was the problem. Her mother immediately supported her. It's not right for a husband to hold on to something like that, she said. Her father added, marriage is about trust, not contracts. Then my father looked at me. Son, maybe you should consider her feelings. That was the moment everything became clear. Not one of them cared about the truth. They cared about comfort, about peace, even if it meant I had to lose. I stood up slowly, calm, no emotion. You all think this is about trust, I said. No one answered. I looked directly at Clara. Tell them why you wanted the prenup. She froze. Silence filled the room. Go on, I said. Explain it. Her eyes shifted. She didn't speak, so I did. She asked for it because she had more than me, I said. She wanted to protect herself. I turned to the others and I agreed. I paused. Now I have more. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. And suddenly I continued. It's about love, unity, and trust. No one spoke, not even Clara, because there was nothing to say. The truth had no argument. Her father tried to step in. That's not the point. It is the point, I cut in. It's the only point. I turned back to Clara. And if I remove it, what happens? She didn't answer. Exactly, I said. That night ended without resolution. But it didn't need one, because something had already broken. Completely. After that, the house felt different. Cold, silent. We stopped talking unless necessary. No more pretending. No more pretending there was still something to fix. Then one morning she said it. I think we need space. I nodded. I agree. No arguments. No drama. Just the end, quietly arriving. The divorce process started soon after, and here's the part that mattered most. The prenup held. Every clause, every line, everything she once insisted on protected me. She kept what was hers before. I kept everything I built. No negotiations, no sharing. Exactly as she designed it. Her family tried to step in again, now with softer tones. Regret. Maybe we pushed too hard. Maybe things went too far. But it was too late. Way too late, because none of them spoke when it mattered. None of them stood for fairness when it wasn't in their favor. And now they had nothing to say that meant anything. The day everything was finalized, Clara looked different. Not broken, but smaller. Like someone who lost a game they created. She didn't argue anymore, didn't push, didn't pretend. She just accepted it, because she had no choice. As we signed the final documents, she looked at me once. Do you really think this was worth it? She asked. I looked at her calmly. You made the rules, I said. I just followed them. She didn't respond. Because she knew. She knew exactly where it went wrong. Not when I refused, but when she believed the rules only applied when she was winning. I walked out of that building with no anger, no regret, just clarity. Because I didn't lose a marriage. I lost an illusion. And sometime later I heard through mutual contacts that her family no longer spoke about the situation. They avoided it, changed topics, pretended it never happened. Because deep down, they were ashamed, not just of the outcome, but of how obvious everything had been in the end. And me, I moved on, built my life, quietly, without noise, without needing to prove anything to anyone, because some lessons don't need revenge. They just need time to expose everything on their own.
Like our stories? Subscribe and share to follow for more.